throughout history, there's been moments of disaster when it comes to nuclear energy. The biggest one I can come up with is the Chernobyl incident. So I believe that nuclear energy should be good, like should be a good alternative to fossil fuel and all that. It's just that there has to be a lot of safety procedures have to be put in place before they're implemented to society.
Am I in camera there?
Yep.
All
Which
right.
camera am I looking at? This one?
This-
Okay.
No, you're looking at
Just
Luke.
making sure.
Luke.
Okay. Oh, here. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Same one. Take one.
My name is Rochelle Gadd. I'm a training and education coordinator here at ANSTO, particularly the ANSTO Discovery Centre. We provide ANSTO's community outreach to either schools, community groups, and anyone that's interested in learning about nuclear science. So, our organisation, we are known for our research reactor OPAL, which stands for Open Pool Australian Lightwater Research Reactor, is fundamentally known as one of the best multi-purpose research reactors around the world because we can complete a lot of capabilities as well as produce neutrons in such a high flux.
Yes, I am kind of worried about nuclear resources based off what I know. I know that they can be used in a negative way by individuals in power.
OPAL is a multi-purpose research reactor and has 20 megawatts of thermal power. Although we don't use that thermal power for electricity, instead we use it for industry, medicine and research. My name is Sarah Tyler and I am an education officer and an education and training coordinator here at ANSTO. OPAL is expected to operate well into the 2060s and 2070s, currently doing the operations that it does now.
Nuclear energy is quite dangerous, it's expensive, and if used improperly could endanger the lives of millions of people all around the world. It's just that I still believe that nuclear energy could be good for everyone, basically.
It is said that every Australian will require at least 2 doses in their lifetime of nuclear medicines. Therefore, we're very lucky in Australia to have a research reactor that supplies most of our nuclear medicines. We supply about 80% of the nuclear medicines used in Australia and we get the rest overseas. Now, why it's so important for us is because they're similar to X-rays. Although X-rays can show us our internal structures of our body, nuclear medicine can do even much more. So we can look at how an organ works and see how it's working on a screen as it's beating.
The cultural perspective is that it is somewhat an unstable form of energy that could lead to catastrophe. It's my initial thought.
My name's Bridget Murphy and I'm the Education Manager here at the Discovery Centre. Every process, whether it's chemical or physical or nuclear, creates waste, and we need to look after that really carefully. So I think when people think of nuclear waste, they might have a vision of, barrels on their side with a hole in them with green glowing liquid seeping out into a river or something like that. Really, what our radioactive waste is mainly plasticware. So we were talking before about all of the amazing nuclear medicines that we produce here and some of the research that we do. As part of that, our workers have to work in an area where they keep themselves safe with personal protective equipment. So here at ANSTO, we store our radioactive waste very carefully because that comes from our production of, life-saving nuclear medicines and some of the research that we do. We want to make sure that we keep our radioactive waste, which is mainly plasticware, gloves, for a period of time until it decays back down to background radiation, and then we can dispose of it into the normal waste if it's chemically safe.
it's regarded very nervously in Australia, at least. I know in parts of South Australia there are nuclear deserts where nuclear test sites took place in the 40s during the war. So yeah, Australians' relationship with nuclear, with anything nuclear, is quite strange and emotional.
To understand the history of our Opal reactor and what we have here at ANSTO, we have to start with Australia's first nuclear reactor, which was HIFAR. HIFAR was the high flux Australian reactor and operated for 50 years. Then our Opal reactor in 2006 became operational.
I guess it's been there since the 70s or 80s, perhaps. It's in Lucas Heights. I remember that from when I was a kid.
That kind of energy production, one way it will lead to radiation, massive amounts of dangerous radiation pulling out if it's left unstable.
Hi, my name is Alicia Geddes and my role is a senior scientist in the Environmental Monitoring Group. We find that the dose impact to a theoretical person living at the edge of the ANSTO buffer zone is 4 magnitudes lower than that you would receive from the local natural background radiation in Australia.
So my name is Sherry Chen. I'm an Opal systems engineer. So my current role really encompasses taking care of certain systems inside the Opal reactor. This would specifically be fuel management, the reactor core, and the reflector vessel. So for the safety precautions that we take, really you can imagine it's like an onion with multiple layers. We can't rely on one system to be entirely fail-safe. So we have multiple systems in place where if one thing fails, we have another system that will keep it as a backup. So essentially, we have layers upon layers of what we call defense in depth, where we know that if something fails, it fails safely.
The ANSTO Environmental Monitoring Program looks at key environmental pathways that may be impacted by ANSTO's operations. These pathways are groundwater, surface water, airborne emissions and biota, and we run an extensive sampling program collecting a variety of samples from those environmental pathways and analyse them for radioactivity content. Dose that you would receive from natural radioactivity in Australia comes from a variety of sources. It comes from space and rocks, and some drinking water supplies have natural radioactivity in them. So you would be receiving a higher dose from the natural radioactivity than you would from working or living at ANSTO.
Generally, people are confused about the difference between nuclear, I don't know what you'd call it, a nuclear reactor for medical purposes or a nuclear reactor for power plants. So I don't really know the difference between them either. Sorry.
Knowing what you do know about nuclear resources, does that worry you?
No, I'm not worried about the nuclear facilities in Sydney in any way.
I feel like they're doing a good job. Like, isn't that what they're supposed? Like, I feel like the nuclear research facility would be doing their best to ensure that safety procedures and the implementation of nuclear energy is thoroughly followed through. So it doesn't worry me.